Good morning and welcome. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Wednesday. CPI Wednesday. We'll get to all of that. 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. And if you want to, there's a video. Glenn Beck has a video out there today. It's about 13 minutes if you want to listen to it. I'll break that down for you today. He's got maybe a little different spin on what's going to happen with our money that's in our bank accounts. We're going to talk Stanley in today saying, get ready, more pain is on the way. And we'll talk about all of those things, probably a few other things as well, to see how long we get through it. What a whooping the Nuggets put on the Suns last night. We were bowling, my bowling team. We bowl on Tuesday, and the bowling alley's got the game. I'm trying to bowl and watch the game. It was probably actually good that it wasn't that competitive, because it would have just been a big distraction. But Game 6 back here in the Valley, we'll see if home court. It looks like, hey, if you got home court in that series, you're winning.
Possibly. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, it's not happening the same way, I guess, on the Lakers series. So whoever wins this one's going to probably play the Lakers, it looks like, right?
Right. And unexpected. And I'll say this. I don't think I hate a team more than the Lakers. So that's I want the Suns to win, but if the Suns don't do it, I hope the Nuggets kick the crap out of the Lakers. That's just kind of.
I think the Nuggets hate them much worse than you. That the Nuggets must hate them worse than you, Joe, because they've only been to the conference finals, I think, 3 times. It was always against the Lakers. They always lose. They always get knocked out by the Lakers. I think the Nuggets have never beaten the Lakers in the playoffs. So if the Suns don't win and the Nuggets move on, it would be cathartic for the Nugget Nation, I guess, whatever you want to call them, to beat the. I would say this: if the Nuggets win the conference finals against the Lakers, you might see a celebration like they won the whole thing. That's how big that would be.
And that could be a problem, right? Because you haven't won it all yet, but it feels like you did, right? Yeah, so, we'll see how all of that plays out. But this morning, it was all about CPI, the Consumer Price Index. And again, let's call it what it is. This is a very much made-up number. A lot of adjusting and headline and core and all this other stuff. But let's start with the headline, because that's the one that most people are going to look at. And that one came in at 4.9%. 4.9% year over year. That's the lowest number in 2 years. It kind of fits the, hey, we can, the pause thing would work. We've got Fed's funds rate between 5 and 5.25, and inflation at 4.9. So, hey, we're above it. We're above it. Are you enough above it to be determined? Unfortunately, part of the problem in the number was the Fed decided they had a new favorite number. Right, the core service CPI ex shelter number. Well, this is the one that kind of upset the apple cart because that one accelerated by 0.4% month over month, which was much higher than they wanted, Jason. And again, this is kind of one of those reports where there's a little something for everybody in this report, right? If you're hey, inflation's coming down, here's the headline. If you're hey, these guys think they've gotten inflation under the control, they really don't. Well, here's this, strip out this and core, and that number. I don't hear Jason, so Jason doesn't hear me. So
there you go. I got you. I had a little bit of cutting on the internet. I'm here. Yes. Continue, Joe.
So core CPI rising 0.4%. That would put it at 5.2% year over year, right? So that says, well, you're not quite there with rates. And again, like I said, the headline number you got there was a big drop in shelter. Unfortunately, I'll say this right now. I don't think that shelter number continues to drop. We're not seeing the crash in rents and housing, at least not yet, that a lot of us had expected.
Yeah, the number, the 4.9 number, Joe, and you know me, I've been looking at the 2-year numbers as a guide. If you look at April's number from last year, it was down from the March number from last year. So this only being 4.9 from 5, and last year it was 8.5. It went down to 8.3, but then rose dramatically to 8.6 and 9.1. I don't know, Joe, the inflation number over last year, well, last year it was a little bit of a softer month. For that, just over that whole year last year, that was the 1 month where they were starting to get hopeful that it was coming down, and then it went up. So we'll see, Joe. That some of the information with the fakey jobs number from Friday, and then this, and Joe disagrees, but I would not be surprised if they do another quarter point, Joe. If they think they can't get on top of inflation, we'll see.
I'll say this: I would, if I was a betting man, and I'm not, I'd take that bet. I don't think Jay Powell has the stones to do it. Do I think they should do it? Yes. Do I actually think they will do it? No. But we'll see. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592. Joe and Jason, Patriot Radio News Hour on this Wednesday. A quick look here at the markets. The Dow's down 100. The S&P's pretty flat. The Nasdaq's up 40. Gold's been on really a wild rise, bet up 10, down 10. Right now it's down 10. Silver down about 30 cents right now. And again, we've been talking about what to do with money. Where do you put it? Where do you go with it? You have to have gold and silver. I mean, it's paramount. We're going to get to that in just a minute. You got to have money that's not at these financial institutions, period. That's where Joey comes in, right? Call him up, 602-909-9048. I don't know why you got to keep telling you. It's really simple. Then, of course, we got our good friends over at Refi. They're not correlated to the stock market. They don't care. They know, hey, listen, I'm sure they know Jay Powell made a huge mistake when he called inflation transitory for over a year and didn't react. And now we're in this horrible mess. But they're unaffected by that. Are they going to raise rates again? They're not going to raise rates again? Refi doesn't care. Up to 10.25% return. And you know what I love about it? Is because they're dealing with these people that the banks screwed over. And what I mean by screwed over, who in their right mind loans a 18, 19, 20-year-old kid with no job $50,000, $100,000? It's absolutely, I mean, it shouldn't even be legal, but yet here it is. Well, because you got to go to college, of course. With all these morons that are up there setting all of these policies, college was like $3,000 when they went. Ben Bernanke, I worked my way through college. I was a waiter at a Mexican restaurant over one summer. Well, guess what? That's a nice story. Harvard cost $3,000, Ben. $3,000 when you were there. Right? Now it's $75,000. I probably light. It's probably closer to $80,000 now. But why Refi? They find the ones that had defaulted on their student loans, but yet, hey, if somebody, I got a good job now, I make good money, I just need somebody to help me out. That's what they do. So this is part of the greater good, and really another, maybe a little backhanded way of sticking it to the bank. That's why I love them so much. InvestYRefi.com, the word invest, the letter Y, REFY.com, or call them at 888 Refi 24. And Jason, before we get to Glenn Beck, and I encourage all of you to listen to his clip. It's 13 minutes. But before we get to that, I want to talk about, Stanley Druckenmiller, and you guys know he is one of my three guys that, hey, when they talk, you got to listen. And here's what he had to say, and it's very interesting. Talking about the U.S. economy teetering on the edge of recession. And it's weird because at least here in Phoenix, it doesn't feel that way, right? It doesn't feel that way. But when you look at the data, and again, look at Wall Street as well, you're like, well, Wall Street's hanging in there. It's just the same. It's like six stocks, right? It's Apple, it's Microsoft, right? It's Google, right? These are the guys. It's the same handful of stocks holding everything together, but underneath it, there's a lot of stress. Druckenmiller now calling for a hard landing, warning that there's more bodies coming regarding to regional banks and corporate bankruptcies. And again, these are two things that we know have been growing. Hasn't been getting, the banks have gotten a lot of headlines. The corporate bankruptcies really haven't gotten that much of the headlines. But Stan Druckenmiller says, listen, the bodies are coming. He pulled no punches in attacking Jay Powell. Jerome Powell having his foot on the gas, even though the risk of inflation was apparent amid the recovery from COVID, right? Talking about, hey, this guy was an idiot, put his foot on the gas, called inflation transitory, and called it for over a year. And now we're in this position where, according to Stanley Druckenmiller, we're in big trouble here. When you have free money, people do stupid things. And think about it this way. We know this. All these idiotic social experiments with, hey, let's just give a handful of people. We'll give them $500 a month. We'll give them $1,000 a month, right? That doesn't work. That policy never works. Right? Because what do? Well, they just, hey, I know I'm going to get this $1,000 from the government, so I'm not going to work that hard. I'm going to, right? I'm going to spend it on stupid stuff. People do stupid things. We've had free money for 11 years. Well, I'll question this, Matt. I think we've had free money. We had free money for about 15, but he says 11. Fair enough. A long time. So there's stuff under the hood. It's starting to emerge. Obviously, the regional banks recently, we've got Bed Bath & Beyond and others, but there's a lot more bodies coming. And he said that we wasted our bullets, talking about the Federal Reserve, wasted their bullets. Scary cocktail that we're being presented with, and that he expects more carnage, worse than what we saw in the first quarter. So, Jason, again, underneath the hood, here's a guy, this is, billionaire. The billionaires go to him for what they need to do, and he's not painting a very pretty picture about, hey, when you take the hood off the car, and I know it's got a pretty paint job, right? It's got Apple on there and Google on there, and it looks real pretty. It's really not. And most of these companies are screwed. The second they've got to refinance their debt, they're done. I mean, and that's just simple math. Bed Bath & Beyond, it was simple math. They had to refinance their debt, and hey, the money's not free anymore. And we did stupid stuff when it was free, and now that it isn't, Jason, they can't afford the payment.
Yeah, it's a lot like yesterday's weather here locally. My wife and I were sitting on the grass enjoying some sun yesterday. Then a few hours later, when we're trying to go to bed, the hail comes in and the loud thundering and the lightning, and it's like a light show and chaos, and that's what we're headed for. We're headed for that chaos. That's what he's talking about, Joe. That's what these guys are prognosticating on all the places we look. Is that look, the storm clouds are here and the hail's coming, because because my wife was in contact with somebody east of us, about 10 miles, and they were just getting hammered, and we knew it was coming east towards us. We're like, we better batten down the hatches. I did my gold buying before the hail came in. I protected Jack's car as best I could with a 2-car garage with 3 cars. And it's coming. That hailstorm is coming, Joe. It's
Look at it this way.
A lot of hail.
Yeah, look at it this way. Here's a simple way to explain what Stan is trying to tell everybody. Remember the adjustable rate mortgages that people had on their homes during the financial crisis, right?
I had one.
Right. Remember those? Well, let me tell you, this is what's happening to these corporations. They had an adjustable rate mortgage. That rate was near zero. And now, especially because they don't have great credit, they're going to have to refinance at 7 or 8%, and the math just doesn't work. God, I can't afford the house payment when you do that. And this is what he's talking about. This is what is coming. It's not a matter of maybe. It's not a matter of if. It's when they have to refinance. And we know almost half of it has to be refinanced this year and next year. And these are going to be huge problems. What does he say to do? Well, let's see. He says there's no more fat pitches. In other words, the Fed can't save the day. Treasuries, he says they're off the table. Right, because look at it now. The Fed's funds rate is between 5 and 5.25. A 10-year note's like at 3.5%. He's like, you can't do anything with that. Short the dollar. He goes, oh yeah. He goes, he goes, it's not a massive position that I have, but I'm short the dollar. He also says, and this is, by the way, this is not why I tell you to follow him, because he has been negative on gold and silver just as much as he's been positive. He's in gold and silver right now. And he says, listen, historically, when things go bad, gold and silver don't do that great. Remember, right before the financial crisis, gold was at an all-time high. During the crisis, it went to 700 before it finally went to 1900. But Druckenmiller says that's not how it's going to work this time. Gold and silver are going to be the stars of this next regime. I hope all of you get in. I'm going to help you do it today. I've got a great special today on $10 liberties, and I got a couple of 400 available right now. I'm going to heat this thing way, way up. $10 liberties, 1 through 19, at $1,195. That puts you at $110 less than a 20 if you bought 2 of them. If you buy 20 or more, $1,190. But I'm not done. If you buy 50 or more, $1,185, and whether I don't know if you can afford 1, you can afford 50, whatever you can afford. This price point is not going to last. And again, I think Stan Druckenmiller's right on here. I expect gold and silver to be the star performers in the second half of this year. 800-951-0592. Take the time, add it to your portfolio. And when we get back, I want to talk about what Glenn Beck had to say. But, Jason, kind of your thoughts on where Stan Druckenmiller sees this playing out.
Well, I actually liked what you were saying in response to it, and looking at gold going from, I think it was 1050 high as the whole crisis was happening in 2008, and then it dropped down to 700 before it went to 1900. I think we already had our 700. It was last year. The dollar was having a massively good year, and it couldn't do much to gold. It got down to about 1620 last year, right, Joe, for a little while.
Yep.
That's all a strong dollar could do last year. I think that was our 700 gold. That's over with. That's gone. I think that 1900 gold in 2011, we're on our way now. It may be a little slower this time because I think the economic emergency isn't as fraudulent. It's still fraudulent. It's always fraudulent, but it's not. You're not going to get a whole bunch of people all at once saying the whole thing is busted. I think it's going to be a little bit at a time, and it's just going to grind upward, Joe, and it's going to keep going and keep going. And then if something major happens, a major bank falls or something, then all at once, like you've said before, Joe.
Yeah, Drunken Miller, if I liked the stock market, I'd be exposed to it. And I'm not exposed to it. When I look at a market earnings still at 20 times, when I look at the margins as high as they are, when I looked at the fiscal challenges, it's hard for me to envision a scenario where stocks are going to be higher in 10 years. He's talking about, hey, listen, where the stock market is today, I don't think 10 years from today it's going to be as high as it is now. Now that is a statement. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason will be back after the break.